What's up, everybody? My name is Hutch. With me, as always, Geo, Active Bunny Fufu. How are you doing?
What's going on, guys? I'm doing great.
This is Podcast and Chill, a weekly podcast where we discuss movies, TV, and all sorts of things. And with us this week, we have a special guest, Adam Montoya, or as you guys might know him on YouTube, Seananners. How are you doing today, pal?
Hello. I'm doing all right.
So this is the section of the podcast where we just kind of spitball all the things that we've been watching this week, or doing, or playing. I've done a lot of shit, but I don't want to start this off. Let's kick it off to our guest first. Have you watched anything recently that you found noteworthy?
Recently, no. I kind of just at the end of the day, I go home and watch either Netflix or just Amazon, something like that. But I've been doing a lot of. You guys ever seen Paranormal Witness?
What's it called?
Paranormal Witness.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's like so imagine like Are You Afraid of the Dark, but for like adults, basically. So it's like some of the last episodes or the last seasons were pretty good. The one I'm on right now, I think it's like third or fourth. It's all right, but
and it's called Paranormal what now?
Witness. It's just like a really well produced kind of like spooky stories, kind of like they essentially how it works is they'll have somebody who has encountered some sort of paranormal activity in their house or on their property or whatever. And they recount the events that actually unfold, and then they go back and sort of like dramatize and kind of make it like a spooky. So I'm a sucker for like really crappy like sort of paranormal stuff, but
it's like the forensic files of paranormal shit.
Not so much that, just I like the personal element, like somebody telling you a story and then they go back and sort of fill in. Obviously it's just a person in a room with a microphone and a camera, but it's really cool when they go back and actually do like a well produced whole thing. So yeah, that's what I've been watching for the last couple days.
When you said
no
adult
stuff,
when you said adult Goosebumps, my mind immediately went to the Gio, you would probably know the name of this. It's on Netflix. It's a BBC show. It's called Black Mirrors. That's what it's called. Have you guys?
I've seen that. Yep.
You've seen that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Super good show on Netflix. If you guys are listening and haven't watched that, it's really
I've only
well
seen
done.
the first episode, but it was really interesting, and I really want to go back and watch the rest of it.
Yeah,
It's
they're all
pretty
great.
sweet.
Can I ask a question? So this is just movie stuff, or should I talk about like?
No, you can. No, this is the time
I
where
went
you can.
to.
We can talk about anything.
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
talk about
All
life.
right. So
talk
I
about
got
food.
I got the a new monitor for Black Ops 3. It's like a display point monitor. Oh my God! Like I've been playing like completely wrong this entire time.
And
'Cause
you're
you can
playing on
change it up
PC,
to, like,
right?
Yeah, playing on PC, and I just had like just a run of the mill because HDMI is capped at like 60. But I had never invested in something a little bit more higher end because like typically like when you do external captures, stuff like that, you need to be able to use HDMI, which you cap it up, the vertical sync, the whole 9 yards. But I played last night, and oh my God, like you feel like it sounds stupid, but I was sitting there, I was playing with my buddy Aaron, and we were just like, I'm in the game, I'm shooting, and, like it's so much fun.
Sandy Ravage has been on the good monitor kick for a few years now, and it's interesting too because when you add more frames per second, you're actually capable of different kinds of jumps, so it does directly affect the gameplay.
Oh yeah.
Gio, what have you been watching this week? What have you tuned into?
I watched Road to Perdition actually last night.
Ooh.
And we were supposed to watch a movie that we gave each other last week.
I watched Rock and Rolla again last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again? You watched
Yeah.
it twice?
Well, I was pretty out of it the first time I watched it, and I fell asleep. So Adam,
Okay.
we do a segment called Over Under. We talk about overrated movies, underrated, and I picked Road to Perdition as an underrated movie, and he picked Rock and Rolla, and then we watched them. So what did you think of? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So real quick. So which is Rock and Roll underrated or overrated?
Underrated.
That was Gio's.
Underrated. Gotcha. Okay, cool. That's Guy Ritchie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So you watched Road to Perdition, and now I'm curious to know what you thought.
I insanely enjoyed it.
It's really
Probably
good.
one of my favorite Tom Hanks movies now.
It's a really good movie.
Like I didn't even know it existed, and now I do, and it was awesome. Like I love movies that the protagonist is not exactly a good guy or a bad guy. It's just a gray area, and it's just his ideals and his mission and what he's set out to do. I've always kind of liked that kind of narrative rather than this is the good guy, that's the bad guy. They're going to fight and he's going to win type thing. So But
Yeah.
that was a really fun movie. It was really enjoyable. And Jude Law's character was insanely creepy.
Super creepy, yeah. And Paul Newman was really good in that. And have you seen that movie, Adam? It's a Sam
It's been a
Mendes.
while. Yeah. So to kind of like refresh my memory. So Tom Hanks was he a hitman? Is that what he was? Or
Yeah.
no? And then there was like, was Jude Law also a hitman?
Well, I think Tom Hanks was an enforcer / hitman. You know, if his job was to kill someone, then he would do that. But I don't think that was exclusively his job. And Jude Law was just straight up a hitman.
Yeah, just give me like the real quick synopsis, just like the rundown, because I'm sure people also listening to this are probably like, Road to Win.
So there's going to be spoilers in here. But Gio, you just
Okay.
watched it, so if you want to run that down, you can go for it.
I will try. Me explaining things is a rough patch, but Tom Hanks plays an enforcer for I guess it was a mob gangster. I guess mob. I guess is the right word. He plays an enforcer. He has a wife and 2 sons, and he goes on a job. Job kind of goes wrong. The boss's son goes nuts and kills the guy they're supposed to talk to, and kind of just like kind of make him quiet. Like don't they wanted to go talk to him so he wouldn't like spout his mouth off about bad things going on in the family and things like that. So the boss's son ends up killing the guy. And who's
played by Daniel Craig, who does a really great job in that movie.
He did incredible.
Okay.
That was it was even a small part, but he did really well because he wasn't in the movie a lot. Like he maybe had like 10 scenes of the whole movie,
Probably
even that. But one of his sons, one of Tom Hanks' sons, tagged along and saw them kill these people, and the son the son of the boss guy. Basically freaked out and killed Tom Hanks's wife and other son, while the son that actually saw the killing happened wasn't home and Tom Hanks was on another job, and that basically starts off the whole road to the Perdition where they're on the run, and they're
stealing like mobsters' money from the banks and stuff. It's just
Gotcha.
It's a really really cool.
Cool.
And then they hire Jude Law to find them, and they have multiple encounters.
He's like this creepy guy who takes pictures of dead bodies and
Yeah.
posts them all over his walls and stuff.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's really
it's
great.
the creepiest part I've ever seen Jude Law play because he's usually in the very like posh or like war hero type stuff.
Yeah, they always have like a and B story for assassins. It's always like there's one assassin who like you're supposed to like really just relate to, and then there's always one that's like off their rocker who just shows up to add like color to the film. It happens like all the time. It's like every assassin film, there's like Assassin A, and then just like Bonkers McGee. It's just like kind of rolled up and just
Bonkers.
just like
You would love the movie 13 Assassins if you hadn't already seen that.
Great movie.
I think it's a
I've seen
Japanese
13
film.
Assassins.
Yeah, that's an
is that-
old school Japanese film.
You're not talking about the remake. You're not talking about like whoa, like Keanu.
No, that's
You're talking about the original,
that's,
You're thinking
I think
of 47 Ronin?
yeah,
40s, that's what it
that was
was.
also
Yeah.
a remake of an older movie, but 13 Assassins
Gotcha.
is a great film.
It's on
It's not
Netflix too, I think.
It's not even old school. It's like 2010, I think.
It's really
Okay.
gritty, really graphic, and there's 13 different assassins, and they all have their
And I'm
own zany
taking
different
notes.
personalities. But it's like
Okay.
it's not a comedy. But did you watch anything else this week, Gio? You watching any TV
I
or
watched,
movies? Or?
I watched Man from U.N.C.L.E. actually as well.
Oh,
Another
we
Guy
talked about
Ritchie film.
that, yeah.
His newest one. And I really enjoyed it. It wasn't anything like groundbreaking or incredible, but it was just fun. It was a really good, fun, charming spy movie, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And really enjoyed it, and would be worth a watch for sure.
I might watch that tonight actually, because I like Henry Cavill, I think his name is, and I do like Guy Ritchie films, even though I was kind of shitting on Snatch a little bit last week. How did you feel about Snatch, Mr. Nanners?
I like Snatch. I mean, obviously, if I went back now, I'm sure it probably would lose a lot of its pizzazz. But I mean, obviously, I think your taste changes over time.
Totally.
It's kind of hard because it's like I think that like people like Guy Ritchie. It's like Guy Ritchie, and then everything they do, and it's probably I'd have to assume that Snatch is gonna be on one of those lists. Like in terms of like you're probably gonna have like Dark Knight, Snatch, Inception, like in terms of like the overrated movies. Well, all of which I love all those movies.
Yeah,
but it's
totally.
It's funny.
I
Yeah,
love all
but it's
those
just
too.
it's interesting because it's just like because you told me you're like we do this thing where we talk about movies we like and we don't like, and I just started thinking about all the ones I did like and had a very hard time thinking about films that everyone liked and I just hated. But I did think of one. I thought of one that I remember you saying you loved.
Oh wait,
and
hold
I-
on. Save it for the over under
let's save
section.
that,
Save
yeah.
that.
There's
Yeah.
a section. Oh,
There's
my
a there's a section
We gotta
specifically
put a
for
pin in
over
that
under.
one.
So
So
what
yeah.
about okay? Anyways, but yeah, I like Snatch. I think that it's a lot of fun. I like anything that's got a lot of the sort of like comedic timing, a lot of things that like I like when you button things up. Like I like the idea that the whole story is like in sort of encapsulated. It
Yeah.
drives me insane when I watch something, or even playing a game for that matter, and it's like, what am I doing? What is the narrative here? All I
Yeah.
know is like, here's a new scenario where I have to fight or do something generic, and then we move on. But like, it's kind of cool when it just sort of like, oh, this all kind of made sense. Like it feels complete, as it were.
Yeah. Gio, you were still going on about something you were watching? The Man of
I
Uncle?
also the Man of
Man
Uncle
from
was great.
Uncle, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you just fucked me up completely on the title. Man from Uncle was great. I watched Crazies, which was horrible.
What? You didn't like the Crazies?
Okay.
I
Horrible was a
love
bad,
that movie.
Okay. Horrible was a bad phrase, I guess. It was, I don't know. I guess it was kind of underwhelming. Like I liked the story, the acting was great. It was creepy in a sense, but it was just extremely overwhelming for the type of movie it was.
It was a lot to take in.
Is that
I'll
the one
say
where
that.
they there's like a virus in a town or something?
And it makes them all crazy.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw that.
And they go, and I don't know. It was just really underwhelming. I guess I think I was in my mind. I was kind of like in the back of my mind. I was comparing it to like 28 Days Later or something like that. And I probably shouldn't have. And
Yeah.
I'd say it was a little
but-
more playful than 28 Days Later,
yeah,
but it was
sure.
still really graphic. Like that scene in the movie where they're strapped to the gurney and the guy's got the pitchfork and he's
that
just
was see that
it is horrifying.
That
That scene
terrifying.
horrifies me. Yeah,
That is absolutely terrifying. But I still think even like before and after that is still kind of a little overwhelming of a movie. But wouldn't. As I said, horrible. Saying it was horrible wasn't a good way to put that. I don't know. I'm feeling different. I probably will watch it again a little later on. And
well, I'm a Timothy
that-
Olyphant fanboy, so I pretty much
I
love
am too.
everything
I
he's
like
in.
I like a lot of his movies as well. And then I started watching Rick and Morty this weekend as
I
well.
heard really good things about that show.
See,
Yeah,
I
it's
have
fun.
too, and I really have been wanting to watch it, and it's taken me this long to do it, and it's incredible. Like I understand the hype now. I absolutely do. It's so good.
It seems
it's
like a
such a good
Nanners
show.
show. If you
Oh, yeah.
had time
you guys
to
got
watch
also
it.
watch Bob's Burgers. A lot of people don't watch
Yeah,
that.
I
that's a
have
great
watched
show.
that. It's great. Yeah.
It's really good.
Show's amazing. It's funny because you start to see like for Halloween, like you see like a lot of people like are going out like, and it kind of varies based on the year. But I've been seeing a lot of Tina. Tina is like hilarious in terms of like, I mean, I know you've seen the show, but for
Yeah.
those who haven't, it's very essentially it's like a very awkward teenage girl, and the person that actually does the voiceover for the character is a man. But it's just kind of like it has that right amount of just weird, like that turning point where it's like I don't know who I am and things are kind of just happening and I'm rolling. But her personality's like it's just pretty plain because like I'm just looking for love in all the wrong place. Like it's very I can't do it, but it's just like it's very sort of like
Really dry, right?
yeah, really dry humor,
Yeah.
which is great. So that show's really funny.
So I watched a few things this week. Unless you were still going, Gio.
No, I'm good.
I watched Rock and Rolla. Have you seen it? So first of all, Adam, have you seen that?
Yep. That was a while ago, but I have seen it. Yeah.
So last week I said that Snatch was a overrated film, and this week I wanted to I already told you the story. So I watched Rock and Rolla, and I really liked it actually. I loved the Tom Hardy what's his name, Gerard Butler and Idris Elba trio. I thought they were really funny together. And I thought the story was like totally interesting. Yeah, I really liked it, man. I don't know what else to say about it, but I wasn't going into it with high expectations, but it was like a solid popcorn flick. I would give it like a B plus, a solid B or a B plus. I saw Spectre, which we can talk about. Did you guys watch that yet?
I have
Not yet, no.
Okay, well that's good then, because so we won't spoil it for the viewers. I can be sort of vague about my thoughts on the movie, and we can talk about that in a minute here because there's some news stories that tie into that. And then what else did I watch? Man, okay, so it was Rock and Roll, Spectre, and then actually, you know what, man, I didn't watch a whole lot this week because I was down in LA for the Black Ops 3 launch, and so maybe we were watching like a couple movies in the hotel and stuff like that, but I didn't really get a whole lot of time to do that. I'm really enjoying Black Ops 3, by the way. If we're straying from movies, we can talk about that for a minute. I think this is definitely the best Call of Duty since Black Ops 1, in my opinion. That was
I
my
completely agree.
super balanced.
I mean, I feel like I hope that they kind of go back. I know it sounds like old man Nanners, but it's just like the idea that I really like the simplicity of like the older games, like World at War and even Black Ops, like the games, like the sort of like the having. I mean, I guess it's based upon sort of like popularity and kind of like what's it and what's sort of like fresh. But like I like the idea of like a gun was so very much like it felt more about like now it's like I pick up a gun and I'm like, well, this one looks what? Okay, let's go. Like it was very like when you played World at War, like every gun, like the pizza gun and like you know all, like like everything felt very specific and you had to use it in a very specific way. Unless we're talking like MP40 and it's just like round drums. But
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, like I do enjoy Black Ops 3. I do feel nostalgic for the simplicity of like, you know, sort of like COD 4 and World at War and the original Black Ops. Because like that stuff, like I feel like it's more, you know, more about the guns and more about the environments and more. But again, having said that, like I feel like, especially like the Endor map in Black Ops 3 is super cool. Like when you turn everything up to ultra, like that thing just looks so beautiful. I don't know the name of the map, but you know.
Did
it's
you
that
know
Redwood, I think.
the Redwoods? I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
But did you know the that map was inspired by Endor, which was inspired by the Redwoods in Muir Woods by San Francisco? I don't know.
It was
Muir Woods,
filmed
like-
there, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's
pretty sure it
where
was filmed
that's
there.
where Star
Oh, it
Wars
was?
was filmed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really
Oh,
close to Lucas Ranch, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah, if you don't go, there's if you go to if you have a chance, if you're in SF, go to Muir Woods because like in terms of like a national park, like it's probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. Like I always
which
think
park was this now?
like Muir Park, like or it was I guess it's like just Muir Woods. I can look it up, but I think it's like it's basically essentially just a national park. You can they have a bunch of trails and you can just walk and there's just miles and miles of trails. But what's really fun about it is that like they kind of like pave the particular paths out. So it's like it's very like you can go like on a date or you can go with your family. Like you're not hiking. You're just sort of like walking through these massive forests, and it's really cool because like when you walk, it's like there's sunlight, but like literally they're so massive that it's just everything's shaded and it's just very comfortable and chill and it's like super relaxing. I would definitely like highly recommend it.
I'm always looking for good hikes, man. I love it.
Muir Woods is like that's I mean like so much fun.
So
Look it up
that's
for
I
you.
think that's gonna do it for the what are we watching this week? We can just segue right into the news if you guys are cool with that. Gio, I'll let you. Did you already pick a few stories here?
Yeah, I got a few over here.
Yeah, why don't you lead us off with
right.
something you thought was interesting?
Well, I'm gonna start off with this because I actually had no idea this was gonna be a thing. Have you guys seen Big Trouble in Little China?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Kurt Russell movie. Okay, well they're making a remake
with
The Rock,
yeah.
Dwayne Johnson
Yeah.
as Jack Burton. It was a story about how Kurt Russell gave the remake his blessing. And I didn't really want to talk about that. I wanted to talk about like how I felt and how you guys might feel about it. And I feel awful about it.
Yeah.
Like he even says like nothing is sacred, and I completely disagree when it comes to movies and things like that. Like some things just shouldn't be remade.
That was a really charming movie too. The original one was like I think it was supposed to be a really bad movie, and then it ended up being this cult
It's
classic.
just being like a cult classic movie that everyone pretty much loves is the general consensus of that movie.
I'm pretty positive on The Rock these days though, and I think his comedic timing has gotten better like through
That's very
the
true.
years. So
Like he's becoming a really decent actor. I just I don't know. I don't has like as far as remakes go, America's track record is awful when remakes come into
But
play.
Kurt
Generally.
Russell and then The Rock. I mean, just in terms of like personality wise, like Kurt Russell's got like The Rock is just kind of like likable. Like he doesn't have enough of the like the I'm a dick, but you also like I don't
Yeah.
get that as much.
yeah,
you know?
he's a babyface in the movie world for sure. Have
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
seen him play a bad guy besides the Scorpion King way back in the day?
I don't know if that counts.
His character wasn't really like a good guy in Pain and Gain, but he wasn't really a
He
bad
was
guy either.
likable though. He's always likable. That's the problem. Is if you
Yeah,
meet
he's
somebody who's
always
got a
like
little,
that big teddy bear type character.
Yeah,
some
I'm a
edge
little
to it.
indifferent on it. I probably won't make the effort to see it unless it's on Amazon
No.
for $2 or something.
Yeah, that's probably my thought about it as well. Yeah, I just want to get your guys' opinion on that because I don't know.
That's a bummer. That is a
it-
bummer.
It's really sad.
The first few pieces of news that I picked are all Spectre related. All my reports or all of my news stories come from a site called 411mania.com. They're a really good aggregate site for picking these kind of stories. But first one is Spectre dominates for the #1 finish, And I quote, to no one's surprise, James Bond dominated the competition at the box office this weekend. Spectre claimed the number one spot with $73 million to pick up an easy win. The numbers were a bit below the $80 million that some optimistic industry analysts had predicted, but were more in line with where early pre-sales in the studio expected it to be. This makes Spectre the number 2 opening for a James Bond film, only behind Skyfall's $83 million start. Now that is a nice segue into a story about how one of the producers now, his name's Michael G. Wilson, is saying that they think they have Daniel Craig is coming back for Bond. There's been a lot of talk about him being really publicly like against the character. He's been quoted as saying, "I'd rather take that glass, break it, and slice my wrist than do another film." So he's like, he's been really, really like vocally out there against it. And now this guy's saying, here's the quote: "One of the producers of the James Bond franchise isn't worried about replacing Daniel Craig for the next film. I think we've got Daniel Craig," Wilson told the site, noting that Sam Mendes said they were never going to make another picture again, and he told the press that, despite Mendes going on record as saying so after Skyfall, he came back to direct Spectre. Now, I can't give away too much about Spectre because I don't want to do that, and it's spoilers. If you guys had seen it, it'd be different, but without giving it away, I think it would be really... I think they wrote this movie deliberately to be sort of open-ended at the end, and leave the door open for him to come back. And there's definitely more to this story that started in this film. There's definitely more to be told. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if they ended it here, that could work. But I don't think it would be ideal. And Daniel Craig also raked in over $60 million for playing Bond in Spectre. So
for a character he didn't like. He doesn't like.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to turn away, and if presumably they'll offer him more next time.
Well, the one thing I was going to say is the first time I heard that he was publicly saying, "Oh, I don't like this role," I just thought of negotiating tactics because it's just like we got to give him more money. He's not going to do it. I don't. Part of me just feels that maybe I'm just being a little pessimistic, but it's just like I mean that's a very sort of like this is a great role to play. It's like it's not like the films are going anywhere anytime soon. So like, why would you turn away? I mean, I don't know in terms of like how. He feels about acting in the roles he takes, but it's just like I'd have to assume there is some level to that. And the second question I was kind of curious was, has there ever been a Bond film that's not just ended, that's sort of like continued beyond like what, like say for instance Spectre, and then there's the next film? Has there been any other sort of like basically sequel, as it were? I don't know if that makes any sense.
I don't know enough about the Bond. Have you watched a lot of Bond, Gio?
Yeah, I have, and there's been like a lot of the older ones kind of ended. Open-ended because it's really just a story about a guy or multiple guys, so there's always room for more, but there's been a few that kind of ended and it felt like it was over, like that character's done, it's over, on to the next movie or whatever, kind of something like that. But
sure.
There really has never been like an official closer, and there really has never been an official like opener to a new film until Casino Royale. Mm-hmm. Which in my opinion is the best Bond movie ever. But yeah, Casino Royale left it open for more movies and like directly, and they had the same characters, same kind of storyline, and that's never happened until Casino Royale released.
The last bit of Spectre news is, this one's really quick, but it's really cool, is that they actually set a Guinness World Record for biggest stunt explosion. So it's coming soon. Reports that the latest James Bond movie, Spectre, has broken the Guinness World Record for the largest film stunt explosion. The news was announced at a press conference today in Beijing, China. The scene that they're talking about, I can't say it without giving away, but when I was watching it, I had the thought to myself, I'm like, that has to be CG, because there's no fucking way they blew up that much stuff, but it really is an incredible explosion.
It was so even if you don't millions of dollars for it, wasn't it? It was like I can't remember what the budget was for this.
Just for that explosion?
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly for that particular one because I haven't seen the film, but I did hear something. Someone was saying that like there was more. I guess that's probably why it won, sort of the ability to say, oh well, we have the biggest, giant, huge, happy fun time explosion.
Yeah.
Just based upon the fact that like more than $10 million on like stunts is kind of, I guess it's par for the course, but it's just kind of crazy.
It was gigantic. It was a huge explosion. I mean, I liked Spectre, but I thought that there were a lot of missed opportunities for really great action. There's a scene at the end where he just has a machine gun and he walks out of the building with the girl behind him, and he has 7 people shooting at him, and one by one he just like, he's not taking cover or anything, he just shoots them. And like I thought that was kind of lazy, you know, like bring in some of the guys that did The Raid, or bring in some of the guys that did some of these other really awesome action movies, and actually like make something worth watching instead of just the typical Bond shootout. I don't know, but that's my thought on it. Gio, what's your next story?
I got a story about John Spates and Eric Heiser doing a write of the Van Helsing reboot, and yeah. And I remember Van Helsing because I went to the movie theater to see that when I was very, very little and impressionable and liked things that looked cool and explosions. So Van Helsing was always like a childhood favorite film of mine. And then I grew up and watched it again and realized it was terrible. And just crushed all of my childhood love for the movie. But
I'm trying to think of an example of like maybe Predator 2 would be like that for me. Like I saw it and thought it was incredible, and then years down the line watching it was like, this is a piece of shit.
Yeah. But I, as a character, I love Van Helsing, like the graphic novels and things like that. I've always loved that story because again, I love things that are like Frankenstein, Dracula, you know, Wolfman, things like that. And Van Helsing was all of that and more. And the movie completely just smeared shit all over it. But
did it say when the movie is coming out?
No, they just started writing it basically, or haven't even started. I think they're just getting the deal for it. But yeah, apparently the movie's going to start off with the Mummy, things like that, and dive into the Van Helsing storyline and his background and things like that. So I'm interested. I mean, I want a good Van Helsing movie. Like that.
There's
really,
room for a cool Van Helsing movie, certainly.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of movies that take place in that kind of world, and they do it really poorly. Like we mentioned last week, Dracula. What was it called?
Dracula Untold.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the movie. Dracula Untold and things like that. Like there's room for movies in that kind of genre and movie space that can be really good. Just I don't think it's really been done yet.
No,
it's kind of hard to do. It can get really goofy really fast. It's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, like the last one,
vampires and werewolves, and
it's a fine line between like campy and gritty, you know.
Yeah, like what was it, Hansel and Gretel that came out recently, like Witch Hunters.
I think they're making a sequel to that, by the way.
Oh God,
I think they're making.
I actually watched that when I went to visit my girlfriend in Canada with their parents. They were watching it, and I sat down and watched it. And I'm like, how do they get money for movies like this? Like that was like a Bollywood movie, is what it seemed like. It was pretty awful. Like that's like a straight to DVD movie.
So my next story is Snowpiercer TV series in the work, which had me really excited. The article says Snowpiercer is set to get a TV adaptation. THR reports that Josh Friedman of Avatar 2 is developing a television take on the critically loved 2013 sci-fi film from Bong Joon-ho, who is itself based on the graphic novel by Jacques Lab and Jean-Marc Roquette. Tomorrow Studios acquires Teen Wolf has bought the rights to the series. I loved Snowpiercer, the movie. I really loved it.
It was really great.
And I love the idea of a TV show. Not much else to that story besides I'm really excited for it. Did you see Snowpiercer, Adam?
I did. I'm trying to remember. I think I'd watched it one night. I didn't really know too much about it. The whole sort of like suspending like the disbelief around like the whole train that doesn't, we can't stop or else we just free, like that was a little bit hard for me. I did like once I sort of like ignored that, like I did like the universe, and I did like, you know, you have to kind of push a lot of that aside. I think if you can do that, it'd be a lot of fun. But it's just perhaps was there like a graphic novel or something attached to it that
I think it was based off a graphic novel.
Okay,
yeah.
that's probably why
what this thing just said here.
Yeah, that happens a lot where it's like there is sort of like the built-in fan base that I'm just not a part of. And so when something does come out, I'm just like, well, I don't have like the previous sort of knowledge of that space, so I just kind of just go, like it's not as impactful for me because I'm not sort of attached to something. But I did like a lot of, I mean, it's got really great actors in it as well. Like, I mean, in terms of like, I mean, it's. I mean, I just gonna pull up really quick. I was like to refresh.
John Hurt, Chris Evans. You had the guy from Billy Elliot, the kid.
Kang Ho Song was in that movie as well, I think, right?
I don't know.
He played the guy in like
the Chrono Addict. Is that who you're talking about?
Yes, he was like their engineer basically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a really, really good foreign actor. He's been in a lot of stuff that has just been fantastic.
Ed Harris played the guy at the front. He was great in that too. I'm a sucker for like the fight against the establishment. Things aren't exactly as they seem kind of theme, like The Matrix or Dark City or things like that. I just love that theme.
Gotcha.
So super excited for that show. Gio, what's your next story?
Ridley Scott says Alien Paradise Lost will reveal the Xenomorph's creator. To
What was it called? Alien what?
Alien Paradise Lost.
Or Prometheus
Is-
2. It's Prometheus.
It's,
Prometheus
yeah,
2,
it's
okay.
going to be, and that's going to lead into the official Alien prequel after that, which I'm super excited about. That's basically all he said was it's going to just reveal who created the Xenomorphs and what happened and how that kind of stuff went on.
Super excited for that movie.
And it's I think we're going to be getting more information in February, it says here. And Paradise Lost is supposed to launch or start in May 2017 when it hits theaters.
Not too far out. Not too
Nope.
far out. My next one is Harrison Ford wants to play Indiana Jones again. He's quoted as saying, "Oh yeah, I'd love to do another Indiana Jones, a character that has a history and a potential, kind of a rollicking good movie ride for the audience. Steven Spielberg as a director, what's not to like?" End quote. I'm not in favor of this. I think he's too old.
Nah,
Like,
it just he needs to kind of drop it.
Yeah, I'm
That's
totally, like I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, except for the last one that we don't speak of. But I don't think he should. I think he should just either a different story in that universe or get someone to like make it up his son or something like that, but not Shia LaBeouf.
no, there were talks about Chris Pratt coming on for a reboot, but Steven
Sure.
Spielberg is firmly against that. So they want to make another one with those two before they even think about rebooting it.
Gotcha.
He looked so old in the Temple of the
did.
Crystal Skulls or whatever the fuck it was called. Like he looked
He
so
really
old
did.
in that, and just he's only aged even more and gotten in a plane accident and broke his leg, and like what is he doing riding around on vines and stuff? It just doesn't work. Scarlett Johansson is interested in starring in a Gamergate movie. This one's kind of interesting.
Go on.
quote, the movie is based on a proposal called Control-Alt-Delete. It talks about, which I think is her biography. It talks about how Quinn, who created Depression Quest, was harassed by people online and who wanted to ruin her life after a blog post from her ex-boyfriend went viral. This caused the Gamergate controversy, and Quinn decided to fight back. The film would look at gaming and nerd culture and what happens when things get ugly. So that's interesting. I never would have guessed that would be like a
Honestly,
possibility.
No,
Man. I'm gonna sit back and just watch everything unfold. It's like Jesus Christ.
I don't know if I have like a huge opinion on the Gamergate topic. Like I think I leaned more towards they
can
were
I
being
get
a
real
little
quick
too
some
hard on her, but yeah.
clarification in terms of what it actually is, because every time I hear about it, it's just something new. It's like,
yeah,
it's
I'm in
well,
the
now
same
it's
boat.
this.
I really don't
And
understand it.
I'm a
entirely.
little unclear on like what I kind of get. There's certain like isolated sort of situations that took place, and I'm like, okay, cool, I understand. Well, in this scenario, you could be upset or what. I'm a little unclear how it got. Like, is this like our shitty version of like, oh well, Mortal Kombat is bad for kids, so just ban it? Like, is this like
no,
are we?
not quite. It more had to do with ethics and games journalism. It started with this angry. It's so lame. Like it started with this. It started. This guy was really angry that his girlfriend cheated on her. His girlfriend being Zoe Quinn, who made Depression Quest and a bunch of other indie games, and she's done some other stuff as well, including nude modeling. They found like nude pictures of her, and then just like they started tweeting at her employer, like just pictures of her naked and stuff. Like they really went after her. But so this guy, she apparently cheated on him with some people that worked for news outlets like Kotaku, I think was one of the big one. And he made a blog post basically saying how it was unethical that these people that had a sexual relationship with her were reviewing her game, which I kind of understand, but at the same time, don't fucking write an angry blog because your girlfriend cheated on you.
Yeah,
like,
where does the gaming? I guess
that?
So is the only connection to the gaming side of things because of their careers and they're just saying that
Yes.
well, all of these sort of like ancillary things that took place, they somehow like
he was implying that she would have gotten favorable reviews because she was sleeping with a journalist. That was the implication, which if true would have been a huge deal, but the gaming industry is so incestuous it is impossible not to sleep with
Any
someone that works.
industry. It's not
Yeah.
even game. That's the thing. I'm sitting back. I'm like, how is this different than any other industry? Like, why is it Gamergate? Why is it not just, well, these people are obviously not handling a breakup or a romantic situation that well. Like that's what I always got confused. I'm like, well,
I think he
get,
worked in the industry too, and he made it less about the relationship and more about this is about for the good of the gaming thing on the internet. I think that's what it was. And then it just kind of blew up in his face, and then blew up in her face, and it got really vitriolic. And I think
still a little confused.
Well, it turned into a bunch of shit. It wasn't that it wasn't. Like, I think what's her name, Anita Sarkeesian, ended up like at the forefront of Gamergate, even though it didn't start with her. You know, like I think she was on Jimmy Kimmel or some late night show talking about it, and I don't know. The whole thing is it's confusing to me too, and I would go see this movie to clear a lot of that up.
I just go to the movie. I'm like, now I'm even more lost. I'm so confused.
It sucks that if this movie does get made and if it does get any kind of success, that people will. I guarantee there will be backlash against all gamers for the actions of a few dipshits on Twitter and stuff.
That's why I talk about like Mortal Kombat. This idea that like I feel like there's always a scenario in which the thing that whether it's my entire life it's been the case, whether it's skateboarding or video games or like everything is always sort of like utilized to allow you to have some sort of platform to discuss something totally unrelated. And it's just like, and it sucks because it's like, this is the industry I'm in. I'm in gaming. So when I tell people, it's like it's frustrating that my job and my credibility of my work has to be compromised because other people, sort of like, oh, well, that's gaming. There you go. Just a bunch of irresponsible adults. I'm like, well, hold on. That's not the case at all. Like,
that was my first thought when Hutch told me about this story. Like, what is that going to do to the gaming industry and how people that aren't gamers look at gamers type thing?
I think this topic is so niche that I don't think it's going to be a huge movie. Of course, sometimes there's always flash in the pans, and sometimes things come out of the blue and surprise you. But there's some potential for the entire gaming industry to get a lot of bad press, which I'm kind of bummed about that. But we'll just have to see how it plays out. That's all the stories I got for me. Gio, do you have any more?
No, that's it for me as well.
Okay, so I guess this would be a good time to move to the over/under section.
Yeah, but before we do that, I want to ask our guest a question.
Go for it.
What makes a good movie to you?
A good movie?
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on the mood. I think the mood makes a good movie. I think the willingness to like, because I've talked about this before, but like I do like the idea of going into a film and knowing nothing. I think the surprise tends to be what I kind of gravitate towards. Like if I've heard sort of like whispers, or if I've heard, like I try to like it's crazy because nowadays everything is so saturated in terms of whether it's Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. Everyone's just telling you something before you get to experience it personally. And I think that what I kind of tend to grab, and it's a bit of a broad statement, obviously, surprise, because that could mean any number of genres. But I do like the ability nowadays to still be able to be surprised by things, which is ironic because we're in this podcast talking a bunch of us, films and TV shows and games and situations. Then we're now actually telling you that. But it's everything is so. Information is just so saturated that I do like just roll into the theater, be like, I don't know what this is.
Did you watch the Star Wars trailer?
Which one? Because there's a couple of them.
Any of them,
Yeah, pretty much all of them, because it looks really exciting. No, the last time, and I don't want to break up your segments, but the last time I did this, I saw a film called The Rover. Have you guys seen that film?
It's great.
No.
It's gonna be one of my underrated films. So
it's really good.
But anyways,
yeah,
I think that the idea of being able to sort of, because it is very much a storytelling sort of like thing that you're after when it says like, well, if I'm I mean, obviously it could depend on a majority of factors, whether it's like, well, I'm in this mood, or this is the genre that I like, or what have you. But I do like the ability to feel like somebody is telling me a story that I'm just like, I'm on this ride. I don't care. I don't know anything. Just go. Like that's something that I definitely tend to try to like, create more of those scenarios as I get older.
There's a lot of things that go into that too, because you need a good story for that to happen. You need good characters, then you need good actors, then you need like the whole ensemble of a production crew. Everything needs to be perfect to make a movie like that. And yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I mean, I'm not so much like did you watch the 4-minute Batman v Superman trailer?
No, I didn't. But
yeah, I can't help but watch these things. So I mean, I love long
We're all
spoilery
victim to it,
trailers because I just get so hyped. But
There was a
Um,
4 minute
Nature of the
Batman
beast.
v Superman trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How did that
we're all on
go?
YouTube.
Yeah.
Batman.
I had to.
You didn't see that when it came out? I mean, that was
No, I had no
well,
idea.
it got overshadowed by Star Wars because the first Star
Oh,
Wars
that's true.
trailer I think happened either 3 days before that or 3 days after. But yeah, it's a 4 minute trailer. It's really good. And it doesn't give away too much. Like you don't really know what's going on. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So the next section is called Over Under, where we talk about overrated movies and underrated movies. We like to start with the overrated movies so we can end it on a positive note. So we'll kick it over to our guest to
Yes.
kick these things off here.
I'm coming straight at you, Hutch. Crash.
Okay. All right.
That film. That movie.
Okay. Explain.
Sweet Jesus.
Explain. So why did
Now,
you say my name, by the way? And how did
Because
you know
I remember
that?
you. I remember you saying you loved that movie, and I was like, "Am I taking crazy pills? Because why?" So I beyond just sort of my sort of feedback and sort of like stance on this, I'd love to hear why you like, because that is still the case, right? You still like Crash, or has that changed?
I like it, but I don't love it. It's one of
I
those.
remember
it's-
you saying you
yeah.
loved it.
Well,
That's why.
I
okay.
did, and we just and
Okay.
it's cool. It's funny because we just talked about this, but your opinions do change over time. But
Mm-hmm.
I do like that movie. But I'm with you. Can explain to me why it's overrated though. Sell me on why it's overrated.
I mean, I mean,
maybe these things are
overall,
hard to
the thing-
pinpoint, but the best you
No,
can.
absolutely. It's pretty easy. Like it's like the idea that I don't like when a film tries to tell you what to feel and what to think, and then the sort of like it's just so heavy-handed. Like that's something that I just really cannot stand. So the racism, the sexism, the hey man, life's moving so fast. If you crash into each other is the only way we can. Like I hate that. Stop it. Just stop it. Like, do you hear yourself? Like you're making me go insane.
Yeah,
Like
that's
like
that's the criticism that I developed over time was that it was really on the nose and not
Yeah.
really like
Like
not
let
very
me
cryptic.
feel what I want to feel. Like I think maybe perhaps it's just, and I don't know if it's a product of myself as a person, my generation, my age, but it's just I don't like when things are so just like life's hard, man. I'm like, you can find another more interesting way of telling me that. You don't just be like, listen, bro, it's tough for everyone. Like that's not a narrative. That's
look at
that's
it-
a
look at-
laziness.
Look at a movie like The Rover. You know, it you know
Yeah.
it's one of the. Well, we can talk about that later. But like,
Sure.
yeah, I think Crash is one of those movies where it's like a pretty good movie with a couple really good scenes. Like the scene where he pulls her out of the car and the music's playing, and the scene where he thinks he's gonna shoot him and then he shoots him with a blank or whatever, and his daughter, you know, he's holding his daughter and there's a couple really powerful scenes, and then the rest of the movie is kind of okay. And Sandra Bullock is too good at being a bitch in that movie. Like after watching that movie, I completely convinced myself that she is 100% a monster in real life.
Yeah, but Brendan Fraser, like George of the Jungle, like I can't like there's certain like there's like a lot of those actors in the film, like I'm just like Matt Dillon and like you know, like I just can't. Ludacris, like I can't do this. Like,
Ludacris was
and the
good
fact-
in Rock and Rolla. He was good in that
Yeah,
movie.
but I mean, it's like that was a whole different. It was campy. It was fun. It was like this is like the thing that drove me insane. The fact that it's like it won awards, and it was like this was like I
It
felt
won
like I
Best
was
Picture and Best Screenplay and all that. Yeah,
taking
Which I
crazy
don't
pills.
understand.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
don't get it.
I have the same logic for mine, but I'm gonna wait to say mine. Gio, what's your overrated movie this week?
Overrated movie for this week is Million Dollar Baby.
Hmm.
You
I have not seen. I
You
have
and me
not
are gonna
seen
have
it.
some words after this podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
Million Dollar Baby, and
okay.
what was the other one earlier? The Crazies.
Oh well,
I'm
well,
taking
I
crazy
pled.
pills.
I pled my case for the Crazies, and I said I would watch it again at a
Okay,
different
all
time.
right. So why
and
is
give it
Million
another
Dollar
chance.
Baby overrated?
I
and why are
just-
you wrong?
Why am I wrong? Okay. I honestly, it's a very, to me, it was not that just entertaining as a underdog story. You know, it really hit all the beats A through Z of how an underdog story should go, and it was very strict to its form, and I didn't have any feeling towards it. Like it didn't inspire any emotion to me in any sort. It was just a movie. And could not get lost in the world that it was created, and
I'll complain
For me-
about one part of that movie, which is the character Jay Baruchel, I think is his name is, the skinny one, the skinny character in that movie.
Yeah.
His character is like so over the top and doesn't really fit the
But
movie.
so what I was gonna say is that character really brought me out of the movie.
Yes.
Like, and made me realize, oh wait, this is just a movie. It's not anything really special. I don't know. It was way too out there. Maybe if that character really wasn't in it, maybe I would have a different feeling about it. But as of right now,
he was
I don't
kind
know.
of a big part of the movie. Like he wasn't a small
was.
part. He was always on screen, like doing something stupid.
He was in most of the scenes, starting towards like the second act, I believe.
Yeah, he's a good actor too. I just didn't think that was.
I don't know. It didn't rub me the way it rubbed everyone else that really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it, so I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. My overrated movie is Gladiator, and hear me out.
Oh.
Hear me out.
So why are you
shit.
wrong?
It's okay. I didn't say that it was a bad movie. I said it was an overrated movie. So this movie won fucking Best Picture. It got nominated for Best Screen. Why did it get nominated for Best Screenplay? I think Russell Crowe won Best Actor that year. It just swept the Oscars. It got nominated for I think 11 Oscars and it won 5 or 6 or something. And some of the other movies that were in the category of best movie. Like one of them was Traffic, which is a Steven Soderbergh film with Benicio del Toro and like a shit ton of other actors. And that movie was fucking phenomenal. Like Gladiator was a great action movie. I'm not taking that away from anything. It was not Best Picture of the Year. It was not a masterpiece. I don't think it was. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but if I'm going to compare it to a movie like Last of the Mohicans is going to win every single time. That's my overrated movie this week. Thoughts?
Well,
you both think
his
I'm
son
wrong?
died. His wife died. Hutch. He had to just defeat Joaquin Phoenix. So what's there not to like, man?
I'm with Seananners here. Honestly, he's just
Brilliant logic, fellas. Brilliant logic.
Yeah,
We are
he'll
just,
have his vengeance in this life or the next, dude.
Good to know
So-
that this podcast will set the standard for intellectualism. Underrated movies. Now we can talk about that.
there you go.
Nanners, you were saying it was the
Well, I have a
Rover?
couple, but
Okay.
the Rover is one that I walked out of, and I know that a lot of people probably will watch it and be like, "What was the point of that film?" And that's that's my favorite part of the film is the idea that the entire story is based upon just the most simple of things, and it's odd to me because it's like I'm kind of a sucker for apocalyptic stuff, but I feel like there's a lot you can do a lot wrong with apocalyptic stuff, but I do like this sort of love the grittiness. I love the pacing. I love for a lot of people
give us a brief synopsis if you could, as best you can.
Yeah, so I believe it was in the Australian outback. Essentially, it's the I don't think it really does much sort of hand holding in terms of explaining too much about how everyone got to this point. Essentially, it's the story of Guy Pearce is like the main character, and I don't want to reveal too much, but more or less, it's just it's a very great film in terms of sort of like properly communicating. Very similar to The Road. It's like what would it most likely be like in a world where things you don't have running water, and you don't have resources, and like everyone always constantly does the apocalypse wrong. But I love, and people can't stand it, but I love like just show me like the reality there in terms of like it would be really awful and it would be bad, and the question is in a world of sort of like when you remove all sort of the ancillary things that you spend so much of your time like thinking about, like what is left, and it's very basic things, and that's what I
and
really
Edward
enjoyed
from Twilight is in that, and he's actually really good.
He's really good in that film.
Yeah.
I was like, dear God, like you're a sparkly vampire. And now you're just
He's actually
rocking
a
it.
good actor. It's just unfortunate
Yeah.
that's what he's known for. Is
I know
Twilight.
it's kind of the rub, but no, I definitely I think a lot of people probably state, and that's what really sucks is like people are like, well, this actor's in this film, and I know him based upon sparkly vampires, so I'm not going to see this. So that's why I was like, oh, I should bring that up because it's like it's definitely I don't want the idea of like the Robert Pattinson thing to like push people away and say, oh well, it's probably going to be a shitty film.
No,
because
it's really really good
yeah.
movie.
Super good. It's a bummer because like I would definitely say see it in theaters, but there's no way, unless sort of they re-release or something like that's how it should be viewed. Is like it was like me and Kathy just I think she didn't like it. I remember
really
just sitting there
graphic
was
movie,
like,
but that
oh yeah,
but that director is really graphic. He did The Proposition as well. Have you seen that?
oh yeah.
One of my favorite
I
movies.
think I did The Proposition. Yeah, it was that was the thing I was going to bring up too. Is underrated movies is Sicario. Everyone was like that film was so great and it's so graphic. I'm like, am I missing something? Because I've seen films where like I mean literally
Wait,
like
did you
drug
mean
cartels
underrated or overrated?
overrated. Sorry,
I
excuse me.
agree
Did I
with
say
you on that one
What
because
was the movie called?
Sicario I thought was
Sicario?
really overrated.
It was super overrated, and I was like, it was supposed to. Literally, I can't think of anything in recent like memory in terms of. I mean, just living in like, and obviously, I'm not part of like Mexican drug cartel sort of like, what's currently going on. But it's like that stuff is brutal. Like it's real brutal, and I didn't feel the sensation of like I'm like, oh, this is gonna be messed up, and like I walked away was like. Am I messed up because I didn't feel the sort of like very visceral like
Yeah, I think
horrible.
I tweeted after I saw that movie that watching Sicario is like getting a hand job from someone, and then every time you're about to finish, they go, "No, never mind," and then they just, then they let you sit for a minute, and then they do it again like 15 minutes. Like, and her character doesn't do shit. Her character like
I couldn't stand her
accomplishes
character.
nothing in that movie.
Yeah. You're just a puppet. I'm like, I get that. Like, I understand like the messaging there, but it's just like I have to assume when somebody like an actress or an actor like that's so like sort of like, oh, this person's definitely gonna go deliver, something hopefully, great, and then it's just like, no, we're not. I'm just gonna sit back and let the plot unfold, I guess. Why I'm sort of here. Why am I here? I don't know why I'm here.
It's a bummer too because I was really looking forward to that movie. All right, we need to speed this up along just a little bit here. Did you have one more underrated movie that you said?
So I have two more. I won't talk about them too much, but It Follows. A lot of people haven't seen that, and then You're Next. A lot of the horror films, the horror films don't get any sort of like visibility, and that's I didn't want to bring up The Rover, but I just thought about it when conversation. But both of those two films, they're like super like You're Next. I'd probably say more so than It Follows. I do like the way in which It Follows. Sort of like it's so tough to put a new spin on horror because it's just like it's literally so saturated. It's like YouTube gaming, I guess is the closest comparison. It's like all right, well, I played the game, you played the game, you played the game, you played the like at a certain point, it's very difficult to sort of like differentiate yourself from like the pack. But it's like I do like Your Next specifically for like the humor and the way in which it's very brutal. It's very and they don't take a lot of this sort of like cliche. Sort of they do somewhat, but I mean for the most part, I definitely enjoy it. I was pleasantly surprised. I think I saw it at like PAX. I was like everyone went to some random party and I was like, I'm gonna go see You're Next, and was like, yep, I made the right choice.
I just want to touch on It Follows a little bit. That was the most refreshing take on a horror film I have seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I was all about it.
That psychological like mentality of there's something like slowly walking to you at all times. No matter where you are, like
messed up.
Like that terrified me.
Just fly back and forth.
Fly to Europe.
It's like
presumably they would walk underwater, which would take them a lot longer. What if the current drives them back? What if they can't even like fight through just walk to fucking Europe?
That's the thing is you don't know what it's doing and how it's getting to you at the entire time. Like it doesn't. They don't show the thing that's following the person, and it can take the manifestation of anyone. It could be someone someone you don't know.
I did. I liked it. I thought it was kind of a victim of its own hype because when I saw it, this was after it had been out for 2 weeks, and I saw like Machinima ETC did a story on it, and like all these publications were talking about how it was like reinventing the wheel. So I went in just expecting the best movie of all time, and I think that kind of like I watched it again later on, and I did like it. It's super original. I've never seen a horror movie that had that take on it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Gio, what is your underrated movie?
Watching Road to Perdition kind of reminded me of another Jude Law movie. Well, it wasn't really his movie, but
let me guess.
Okay, go ahead.
AI?
No, actually,
Okay.
which was one of my thoughts. But it was actually Repo Man.
I never saw that.
Really? Okay, so
it looked like a bad B movie in the trailers.
See, that's what I thought of it, and it was actually a really, really good action movie. It's nothing incredible. Like what makes a good movie for me is something that's fun. Like when I know what kind of movie it's gonna be, I want it to be at least be fun. Like if I know it's gonna be an action movie, I want it to be fun. If I know it's gonna be a horror movie, I want it to be creepy. If it's gonna be a drama, I want it to make me feel things and things like that. So with a type of movie like Repo Man, as long as it's fun, I think it makes a great action movie. Kind of like Mad Max and things like that. Like those movies are just super, super fun to watch. And this has Jude Law, Forrest Whitaker, Alice Braga. It's a pretty good, decent cast, and the story is fine. It's understandable. Jude, it's not a good guy, bad guy movie. It's more of just a character and his mindset and doing what he thinks is right and type thing. And I just think it's a very underrated action flick, fun, like one-time watch type thing.
Well, I gotta watch it this week now, so we'll find out. We'll find out
Yeah,
we'll find out if you're lying.
like I said, it's not an incredible, outstanding, reinventing the wheel movie. It is just a like mindless, good, fun, underrated action movie.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to watch something that you don't have to get too heavy into. You're just like,
Yeah,
all right, I'm gonna put
exactly.
this on. I'm gonna chill out. It is funny because the whole time you're saying this, I'm thinking about Forrest Whitaker. I'm trying to think of the best way to communicate like his personality, and it's like Forrest Whitaker is like when like if you're lost, and this is like pre like GPS. It's like you had to look for directions. You had to like go to a gas station, like
Oh, he would for
constantly
sure
trying
help
to
you out.
like he's just like constantly, but he doesn't have all the facts correct. So he's like, well, like it's like a little bit off like all the time. So he's like, I think it was west. No, it's definitely nah. like that dude, like that dude at the gas station.
Forrest Whitaker, great at being uncertain about this. He was good in Out of the Furnace. Did you guys see that movie with Christian Bale, Woody Harrelson?
I vaguely remember seeing that movie.
That's going to be on my list one of these days for the underrated because it's great, but he's really good in that.
I saw that.
My underrated films, because it's a 1 and 2, are The Raid 1 and The Raid 2. The Raid 1, The Raid Redemption, and then The Raid 2, Barandal. I'm sure most people have heard of those films by now. In fact, they were doing an American remake of it with, I can't remember who was the lead, but he just dropped out. Oh, it was the guy from the new season of True Detective, and he was in John Carter from Mars, and he was in, Taylor Hirsch or something like that, I think his name is. But he just recently dropped out. They lost their director too. I'm glad they're not doing a remake because these two action films are perfect. And like the first movie is more of a straightforward action film, and then the second movie they tried to incorporate some of like The Departed and The Godfather and these mafia genre movies in there too. And then it's also an incredible action movie. I'm assuming you guys both have seen these movies.
I have seen them both. Yes, I own them both.
You agree? It's pretty fantastic film, right?
I completely agree. I'm a huge martial arts movie fan because I grew up on Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and Bruce Lee, things like that. So movies like this always are one of kind of my favorite things to watch and experience. And The Raid just hit all the points to make it a great action flick. Like it was.
Did you guys like the Dread at all, or just The Raid?
I loved Dread. I loved Dread. It was really good, and it had that Raid feel too, because everyone was comparing it to it. And it's
for
like,
sure.
it definitely took its ideals and kind of like and was inspired by the Raid, but it definitely was not a bad thing like whatsoever.
Sure.
But
I didn't see it as like a plagiarism because it's not the first time we've seen that theme of like fighting floor for the
not at all.
Like Die Hard, So it's I thought that criticism was actually, you know what, I didn't really hear too many people criticize it. They just said it was inspired by it.
It's more of it was more of an inspiration type thing, and I completely agree with that. I think it kind of was, and it kind of felt like it was, but it was still his own thing.
They're trying to crowdfund Dread 2 right now.
And I really want that to happen.
Is it on Kickstarter or?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. They might have taken it down. I have to Google search that, but I think they were either started to do that or they were talking about doing that. And I know the lead actor really loves that character and loved making that movie and was appealing to the internet to like somehow find a way to fund it. Yeah, totally. So that's it for the over under section. Unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about here, the last section is reader mail, and I pulled a few questions here on Twitter. Gio, did you pick any, or do you want to just go with these ones here?
Yeah, I picked some as well.
Okay, why don't you pick? You go first then.
All right. First one is from I didn't write down the name. That is unfortunate.
Oh dear.
Gutsy Buckle is what it's from. It's on Twitter. Do you guys think that obscure movies like Rubber are complete garbage or hidden gems?
What's Rubber?
Is that the tire movie? The killing
the tire that can blow people's heads up? Yeah, with its mind.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that for the most part, it's like just. That's the thing. Is like if you hold it to the standard of everything you go to, like let's say the AMC down the street, it's probably you're going to be disappointed. I'm not saying that one's better than the other, but it's just like that's just let people make what they want to make. If you don't like it, that's fine. Just kind of like,
Mhm.
move on and try to get, I mean, I guess the best thing to do is to say, okay, well, is there like I think that having obviously like friends feedback, like, oh, you got to check out Rubber, you got to check out this. That's very helpful because there is a lot of obscure films that you
Mhm.
probably wouldn't see based upon how you like digest media. But it's like, because it's not, if it's not going to be like pop up on Hulu or Amazon, you're like, well, I'm not going to I've never ever seen like, let's say like Rubber available for purchase or download or whatever. So
I've never
it's very
even
hard
heard
for
of
me to
this
like,
movie.
yeah, it's
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 on
really obscure,
Netflix.
but it's
It's
yeah, as long as it's not like something super like, cliche, I'm typically fine with it.
I
But
think those
it is a
movies.
bit, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I think those movies. It really depends on the crowd that you see it in too, because
Oh
there's
yeah,
obviously a market for movies like that because you look at The Room and how successful that is, and just from
sure.
being bad. And if you can get a really fun, energetic crowd, then I think that those can be a really fun time. I would never watch a movie like that like by myself in the house. I would be really bored the whole time.
yeah, it's
I don't love the whole bad movies being good movies kind of thing. I'm not into. I don't really like it. I think bad movies are just bad, and it's really hard for me to be
you don't like
entertained.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space, man?
Nah, nah, not really. Kid Berman says, "What's your favorite '80s action movie?"
80s.
80s action movie.
I'm having this
Uh,
problem where I'm getting older and like I'm like, was that in the early 90s, late 90s? Was that in 2000? Like I'm getting because I was
Yeah,
I was born in 84, so I had like 6
I
years. Like,
I'm gonna have to go with Predator, I
that's
think.
mine. That's mine too.
mm,
Yeah, I think that's definitely because it's definitely I'm a much younger sort than you guys, but I think I have a pretty good knowledge of older movies
actually, I'm
and
trying to
Either
think.
Predator or Die Hard, one of those two.
Die
yeah,
Hard's
yeah,
probably the one that comes to mind. Yeah.
Lots of really great action movies from the '80s,
mhm.
obviously. But if I had to pick one, I'd have to
80s
say
and
Predator.
like late 70s, early 90s, those are some of the best movie times, in
I'm
my
trying to think
opinion,
of what
still.
came out in the 80s.
There's
I'm
a
getting
shit
old.
ton of stuff that came out in
Yeah.
the '80s. Like I think the first Lethal Weapon came out in the '80s.
Yeah, I
Die
think
Hard started in the '80s.
RoboCop,
Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing like Conan and The
The
Running
Empire
Man
Strikes
and
Back, I think.
yep, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. If you want to call those action movies, but um,
Action-ish.
so what? Was that the one that you just picked, or did I just pick that one? Oh, you picked the next
You
one, Joe.
Okay, next one is most rewatchable movie.
Most rewatchable, dang. Of all time.
It just says most rewatchable movie, and let's just say most rewatchable movie to you right now.
And who is this from
Okay.
again?
It was from Dominique, I think.
Okay,
I've
I
been
just want to make sure
watching.
we shout him out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if you guys have seen American Psycho, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Go back and watch that. That's definitely like the more times I watch, I'm like, man, this is a quotable film. I need to go back and
It really is.
like that film, man. Like it's just like,
It's
That movie
because
kind
I
of
want
fucked me
to
up, to be
fit
honest
in.
with you.
Really, that's not even that brutal though. Like it's so funny and over the top to me that I'm just like, because that's what was that 15 years ago, something like that. Like that's in terms of like, technology and culture and everything. Like it changes up quite a bit. Like in terms of like visually, it's like what's gruesome back then. It's not going to be gruesome like, what I'm saying, like 10, 15
yeah.
years from now.
But it's
But
not.
that
It's not
movie's
so much the
hilarious.
violence that creeped me out or that disturbed me, but he just played that character so well, and like
He really
just,
did.
and like he got in my head by the end of it. I really did not like him by the end of that movie. Um,
I'm just thinking about the film and just laughing. Do you like
his-
Huey Lewis in the
yeah, I
news?
love his obsession with like Phil Collins. Like it's definitely a really
Really?
great
Yeah.
character.
That
I think
whole
they made like
Genesis
2
monologue.
sequels to that too.
Oh, I'm
They
not,
did,
I
and
didn't
it was
think
his
I ever watched.
daughter. I think it was his
Uh,
daughter.
That's
dear.
dumb.
And yeah, I never watched him because I didn't want to taint
It's not
my
going to eat
love.
itself.
Tony Harris 91 on Twitter said, "What is a movie?" I like this question. What is a movie that, if redone correctly, you would like to see again, and who would be the director? That's a little hard to come up with like on the spot as far as directors go, but if I wouldn't say redone, but I would love to see another Matrix trilogy. Like we deserve it. We
Yeah,
deserve.
that was so lame. Like, what happened there? Like,
It-
what? Especially like Star Wars too. Like, what with the what was it? The Phantom Menace or the
Yes.
other two?
The Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
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 What happened?
Yeah,
Like they honestly like at near the end, like Revenge of the Sith wasn't actually as bad as the other ones.
No.
Like Revenge of the Sith actually was a pretty decent Star Wars film. It seemed like they kind of went backwards with that. Like it was started off horrible, then got kind of okay.
Yeah, well, it got real dark. He's like killing little
Yeah.
Jedi kids and shit. You know, like it was definitely a different tone than Jar Jar Binks, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
Fuck that character.
but yeah, you know, like the Matrix, obviously, I loved Reloaded. I loved the second one.
I completely agree.
But I hated the third one.
What also happened to the Pirates films too? Like
They're still making
Pirates
it.
of the Caribbean. They're making their fifth one.
Yep,
Jesus.
with Javier Bardem as the
Yeah,
it's like they
Dead
made the
Man
first
Tells No
one,
Tales or something
and
like
that really encapsulated like the theme and everything, that whole world, and then it just got really like zany. Like maybe that's a product of, and I don't know if this is just a thing that you see time and time again. It seems like there's a film, and it's very easy to just like, great, I understand this film. This is like packaged nicely, and then they just feel this obligation to just go off the rails and try to develop all these storylines and do all these, like, I feel like it's what happens. It's like you get a little bit of sort of like credibility, and then it's just like you just go off the, like, I hope that, and I know it never seems to be the case, but like, but just do whatever was great about that film, and it was very just, let's like just make a nice little package. Don't just go and say, well, now we got to know where this person came from or where they're going, or it's their kid is now going to care. Like, just no, just like do more of the same, because we liked that, and now it's like I'm going to reinvent the pant. It's like, no, the pant was good, man. The pant is still good. Like you don't need to put like doilies at the end or something. Like pants are fine. Like they're fine. So.
I just randomly had the thought while we were on this topic. I'm really surprised they didn't make another Home Alone with like Justin Bieber. You know, I'm really surprised they didn't.
I can guarantee that's crossed someone's mind.
100% that conversation was had at some point.
It was started. Like it probably even went further than starting a script for that shit, but not announcing it. Like I bet it has.
All right, Gio, what's your next question here?
From Silent Assassin, he asks, "What's your favorite director to watch?"
Director. Well, I know.
Go for it.
That's a couple of them though. That's the problem.
I'm kind of biased. It's my favorite director and always will be Alfred Hitchcock, because his storytelling is like just above everyone else's. Like his storytelling is so good, and his fit and his cinematography and his movies are just way, like I don't know, just that he revolutionized cinematography in his time, and it was way before his time. So that will always be my pick.
Nanners?
Oh, I'm having a hard one here. Kind of a strange way to put that sentence.
I'm having a hard one, boys.
I don't know. Like I in terms of, because I'm trying to think about what's the angle. So like if I pick a director, it's because of this reason, and the idea of like cinematography, set design. Like I'd probably have to say between like David Fincher and Wes Anderson, because I'd probably say I've not gone into a Wes, and I know it's super like, you know, just like super, I don't know, hip to say Wes Anderson, but in terms of like, maybe it's just my own sort of like type A personality, but I love the amount of detail and focus and attention. Like everything has to be just right. So potentially like maybe it just speaks to me more because I'm just like, this is just like just everything is so meticulously planned that's perhaps what I tend to sort of gravitate towards, is because it just sort of like appeases like that part of me that's just like, no, organization. But I have to say, like, I've never really, I mean some David Fincher films are hit or miss, but for the most part, like if it's a Wes Anderson film or a David Fincher film, I don't care what it is, I'll probably go to it.
You know that him and David Fincher and Jake Gyllenhaal apparently butted heads quite a bit when they were filming Zodiac, because David Fincher was so meticulous and particular, and he would have them shoot the same scene like sometimes over 100 times, and he I guess he reached a breaking point, and there was some tension between those two characters. But Wes Anderson and David Fincher are both great filmmakers. I would pick Ethan and Joel Coen. Like there's only one movie of theirs that I didn't like, which is The Lady Killers, and everything else was in my mind everything else is 4 out of 4 stars. They just never fail.
What's the latest film that's coming out? Failed. It's like old Hollywood. What's the film that they're working on right now?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but it's got a lot of the same kind of familiar characters. Like Josh Brolin is in it, and I think John Goodman's in it too. Yeah. I don't know the name of it, but I'm definitely gonna see it. I have a question for you, Nanners. This is from Indie Freak on Twitter. He said, "For the Nanners, what is your favorite scene in Fight Club, and have you read any of the Fight Club 2 stuff? Ooh. P.S. Love you all."
Oh man, favorite scene in Fight Club? I'd probably say the end. I think the you met me at a very strange time in my life. Like that scene, like I always like going back. I still feel warm and fuzzies for that. Like the idea, like because I love the Pixies and I love that track with like
Yeah.
the exploding sort of like I love the fact that it's just kind of all I don't know like the chaos to it, but at the same time I just love that it's just so like satisfying. So I'd probably say just the end of that film, and then I haven't looked into Fight Club 2 for the very reason of like trying to want to be surprised in the event that there is going to be a film. I'd very much like
have
to
they
just
talked about making that? Because that's the first I've heard of this.
I don't
I
know.
think
I
there's
mean,
a book, isn't there? Isn't there a Fight
There's
Club 2
definitely
book?
yeah. They just came
Yeah.
out with a sequel, I
Yeah.
think, didn't he?
It was pretty recently.
Isn't
I
it?
kind of want to stay away from it because I know that I mean I've struggled with sort of like like the narrative sort of like whether you get let's say a novel or whether you go see a film, like it's just it always differs, and I tend to kind of have like especially like The Martian, like having two, it's like the film is just like let's condense everything. And I'm just like, well, it's not an action film, there's a lot, like if like the book itself, it's all about data and numbers and running the math, and it's like in this it's just like I'm adorable. I'm Matt Damon. I'm gonna get off this Mar place.
loved it. I
No, it
loved
was great.
Martian,
I didn't
man.
have a problem with it per se as a film. I just I tend to try to prevent myself as much as possible from trying to get two perspectives of the same thing.
It's like
I
Game of
just wanna,
Thrones.
like,
So I
yeah.
refuse to read the books, and the show is masterful. So I'm just gonna stick with that. That was the last question I had, Gio. So if you got one more, then throw it our way.
I was looking around, and I have one from Justra.
Oh.
Have you ever popped a chub while in a movie theater? And if so, what did you do to get rid of it?
I think I've gotten a hand job in a movie theater. Does
yeah,
that
this
count?
reminds me back to high school. Like I'm getting weird flashbacks. I'm like, I don't know about this.
If you're gonna get an awkward boner, I think a movie theater is the place to get one.
Honestly, no one
yeah.
will ever notice.
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, well,
Stand up, go
depending on
get
the
some popcorn.
situation.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Nobody judges here in this movie theater. Thank you so much for giving us your time, Adam. That's going to do
No
it for
problem.
this week's show. If you guys have any more questions for us, reach out to us on Twitter at Podcast Chill, not Podcast and Chill, just Podcast Chill. We'll remind you guys later on in the week or early on next week when we're pulling questions for the next one. But that's going to do it for me. Gio, I'll let you say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you guys for watching this week's episode. Also, just as a reminder, we are now uploading our episodes on SoundCloud as well, because a lot of people were requesting ways to be able to listen to the podcast offline and things like that. So now we will link the SoundCloud down below in the description for you guys to click on. You can follow us there, so you can always have that there, and it'll sync up instantly with your phone and all that good stuff in the app. So yeah, that's it from me. Seananners, you can take it away, and let Seananners outro the show. Actually,
Oh,
Let him-
God,
let
this
him
is a lot
outro
of
the
No
show
pressure or
this
anything, but
no
this-
pressure, but let him do it.
Movies are magic, everyone.
Perfect.
There
End it
you go. And done.